Guess 666. Background. Guess 666 is based on a popular Roblox myth with the same name. The myth has been around since guests were added in 2008. The myth was about a guest who could do pretty much anything. They could speak in-game, use admin commands, and were even rumored to get people's accounts banned, and it blew up after Oblivious HD's series in 2017, featuring Guest 666 as the main antagonist. The myth began to lose traction after Roblox removed guests as a feature, but it never fully died out. The Guest 666 in Forsaken doesn't have any of the abilities the myth does. Instead, their powers make them a bloodthirsty demon due to the 666 in their name. They're described as a guest who is cursed with their name from the moment of their existence, and a kind of beast never before encountered. They're also known as Sixer. Appearance. Guest 666 has the most unique base design in Forsaken. They have a monster-like body, giant glowing red claws, pitch black skin, giant glowing red horns, a red and black cap with the red R to symbolize the Roblox logo, a red face with a devilish grin, the word Roblox in red across their arms and torso, glowing red feet with a fire effect, a large dark red mane, and a glowing red tail with the current Roblox logo at the end. Gameplay. Guest 666 is an attrition killer that's mainly focused on precision and pressuring the other survivors. Guest 666 has 2 passives and 6 abilities, and all of their attacks can hit multiple players at once. Their first passive is Manic Fixation, which allows Guest 666 to gradually gain up to 10% speed while chasing survivors that are highlighted by their abilities. This speed can grow up to 20% if the highlighted survivor isn't already being chased. Bloodhound is the second passive, and it allows Guest 666's attacks to inflict the hemorrhage debuff on any survivors that are hit by Guest 666. Guest 666 starts with 0 blood, and they can have up to 150. They get 30 blood every time they kill a survivor, and collecting blood orbs will reduce ability cooldowns by 3 seconds per blood orb. While the hemorrhage debuff is active, a vine will cover the health bar, stopping the health bar from gaining any health back. Survivors also drop blood orbs much faster than normal. The debuff can only be removed by using a med kit or asking other survivors to help you by clicking on them. Using a med kit will remove the debuff, but you won't gain any health from using it. Guest 666's first main ability is Carving Slash, an M1 attack that has 4 different phases and a 2-second cooldown. The first phase is a regular slash, the second is a leap, the third is a flurry of follow-up slashes, and the fourth is a status effect that drains the affected survivor's health over time. The regular slash deals 20 damage, and the leap is caused by holding the ability after the first attack, letting Guest 666 leap in the direction they're facing. Think of this ability as a much more terrifying version of Cool Kid's Walk Speed Override. Any survivor unfortunate enough to be caught by the leap will take 10 damage, and the cooldown for the M1 ability will temporarily increase. The second main ability is Eviscerate, which has an 8-second cooldown and allows Guest 666 to lunge forward and bite down. The attack costs 10 blood, but if it's landed successfully, it will grant 15 blood and reduce the cooldown of Eviscerate by 50%. Guest 666's first ult ability is Demonic Pursuit. Demonic Pursuit has a 30-second cooldown, and it lets Guest 666 leap forward after a short 1-second windup. If Guest 666 lands on a survivor, they are slashed 4 times, doing up to 40 damage. Holding the ability down longer makes Guest 666 leap further, covering more ground in a shorter time. If you aim upwards, Guest 666 leaps up into the air instead of directly forward, and landing this on an unsuspecting survivor grants 20 blood. The exact damage this ability does depends on how long a survivor has had the hemorrhage debuff active. The damage rate is 0.4 for every unhealable health point. Guest 666's second ult ability is Infernal Cry, and it has a 20-second cooldown. Infernal Cry makes Guest 666 roar, creating a shockwave in the direction they're facing. Any survivors caught in the shockwave will be forced to look at Guest 666 and receive a blindness 2 debuff for 4 seconds and be highlighted for 12 seconds. Internal Cry normally doesn't deal damage, but if it's during a blood hunt, then it will deal 10 damage, apply speed 1 buff to Guest 666 for 4 seconds, and apply strength 1 buff for 8 seconds if it hits a survivor. Blood Rush is Guest 666's third ult ability. It has a 30-second cooldown and reveals the position of all survivors for a short amount of time. If Guest 666 has the max amount of blood, this ability turns into Blood Hunt. At the start of a blood hunt, Guest 666 will produce a blood-curdling cry that every survivor on the map can hear. All of the abilities mentioned previously are off cooldown, the round timer is paused, and Blood Hunt lasts for 25 seconds. The round can't end until Blood Hunt is disabled, and Blood Hunt won't activate if there's only 1 survivor left. If there is 1 survivor left during Blood Hunt, the duration of Blood Hunt is changed to 7 seconds. Blood Hunt heavily amplifies the other abilities. All players have lower brightness and obstructed vision. Guest 666's movement speed is increased by 4%, while their terror radius is decreased by 50%, and they are immune to stuns. If an attempt to stun them is made, they will only gain a slowness 2 debuff for 3 seconds and a helpless 1 debuff for 2 seconds. All survivors will have a flashing red highlight every 5 seconds, revealing their location. Survivors with the hemorrhage debuff will have a faster flashing highlight that will be white instead of red. Every time a survivor is killed during all of this, the duration of blood hunt is extended by 15 seconds, and if a survivor is being chased, then the blood hunt timer will decrease twice as slowly. Once blood hunt is over, all blood is removed, and the max amount is increased by 50. Lore. As the description states, Guest was cursed with their name from the moment of their existence. Due to this, they were always seen as a bad omen by all the other Robloxians, and a lot of myths were spread about them being a hacker or a beast in disguise. These made many Robloxians scared of Guest, and as a result, they were avoided and shunned by society. The only friend Guest had was Noob, who didn't listen to the myths and saw them for who they really are. The two of them originally met on a beach, and that's when Noob learned about Guest's name. They started going to cafes together, playing games with each other. There was even a point where Guest would go to Noob's house every day. This was also around the time Guest decided to go by the nickname Sixer, and the two became best friends. Unfortunately, the myths about Guest never stopped, and that would cause them to become more and more agitated. They progressively got angrier when they lost games with Noob, and eventually they had had enough and stopped talking to Noob for a while. When Guest returned, they were a lot stronger and faster than before, causing them to win any game they'd play together. Something was very wrong though. Things felt off, and Guest's eyes became progressively more crimson over time. Noob found out Guest was using a script to keep up with them in games, and Guest had relied on it so much that it became a necessity and they were completely addicted. After Noob found out, they didn't say anything as they didn't want the friendship the two of them built to fall apart. The scripting only got worse as the myths that made Guest so angry in the past had become more accurate. Games began glitching whenever they were in a server, and Noob tried their best to keep it hidden, but it proved challenging and they often failed. Things got so bad that Guest had to hide parts of their body after their torso morphed into solidified code, and their arm turned into a glitchy mess. The script even gave Guest the ability to speak, but only in a heavily filtered tone. On October 1st, 2017, Noob couldn't stand seeing Guest ruin themselves any longer and confronted them, yelling at them with teary eyes, telling them that the script had altered their body and that they had to quit and that they were becoming myths. Lastly, Noob told them they couldn't bear to lose them like this, but Guest didn't listen. They gave Noob a cold gaze before picking them up by the shirt with their claws, and they began to argue. Guest lifted Noob off the ground and then punched them, sending them falling to the sand, and as Noob got up, they angrily yelled at Guest and told them that they had had enough and stormed off. Guest yelled at Noob as they left, but Noob no longer heard their voice. Guest is somewhat miss Noob deep down, but they believe there's no point in dwelling on the past, so they decided to become exactly like the myth and leave the past behind. Eventually, Guest was caught by Builderman and promptly banned, leaving Noob with no way to apologize for abandoning them. Instead of going to the Banlands, the Spectre showed up and forced Guest into Forsaken for all eternity. Extra information: Guest 666 is the only killer in the game to have animated eyes. They're the first killer to have phases for their main ability, they're the tallest character in the game at 12 studs, and they're the slowest killer in the game, sharing a sprinting speed of 27, tied with 1x. They cost 1,666 player points, use all pronouns, have a terror radius of 80 studs, have 110 stamina, 2,500 health, and are 3-star difficulty. They have a special kill animation and a last man standing theme just for Noob. A pre-transformed version of Guest can be seen in Noob's milestone skins renders. Some maps had to be altered because of Guest 666's leap. Veeronica. Background. Veeronica is described as a rebellious robot, once with a heart for tags and shredding. She is the 3rd survivalist ever added, the 1st female survivor ever added, and the 11th survivor in the game. She is a robotic humanoid that always carries a spray paint can, along with her signature skateboard that she uses to swiftly evade killers, but it quickly drains her stamina. Currently, she doesn't really have any lore or a proper backstory. Appearance. Veeronica's head is a modified version of the Ms. TV accessory. It has a pink screen that shows her face through K-emoji expressions. Veeronica also has the classic Roblox baseball cap, TV antenna, a red hoodie, black pants, a cable as a tail, black fingerless gloves, and knee pads. Gameplay. As mentioned previously, Veeronica is a survivalist who mainly relies on good timing. She has 1 passive and 5 abilities. Her passive, Metal Frame, makes her unable to use any standard healing items like medkits, Elliot's Pizza, or even Builderman's dispensers. This is because of one of her later abilities that allows her to heal herself. Her first ability is called Vandalism, Vandalism, and it has a 0.8 second cooldown. Vandalism lets Veronica equip a spray can and spray up to 3 graffitis on any wall. Each graffiti has its own graffiti zone that lets Veronica use her Ski 8 ability. There are 2 ways to get rid of graffiti, either by holding space to remove it, or killers can destroy it. When a killer destroys a graffiti, the cooldown to use Vandalism changes to 15 seconds. Veronica's second ability is SK8. SK8 has a 5-second cooldown and can only be used in graffiti zones, and it lets Veronica get on her skateboard and skate at 1.15 times her running speed. But she also uses up 1.25 times more stamina compared to regular running. There's very little control, so turning can be a bit of a challenge. If Veronica crashes into anything, whether it be a wall or a killer, she will take 5 damage and gain a slowness 4 debuff for 2.5 seconds. She can also stop skating anytime by just recasting the ability. Running out of stamina also makes SK8 end instantly. Veronica's third ability is SK8 Trick. This ability has a 1-second cooldown. When Veronica approaches a collidable surface, Veronica will start glowing and can perform a trick by pressing spacebar and jumping off said surface. She gains full air control while she's airborne and 10 stamina, as well as a slight speed boost while in the air. Doing 3 tricks in a row will charge Veronica's battery by 5%, and attempting to do tricks on non-collidable surfaces will still put the ability on cooldown. Broadcast is Veronica's 4th and her best ability. It has a 0.6 second cooldown and switches between 3 channels. The first channel is Phase. Phase allows Veronica to phase through the killer when using SK8. Phasing through a killer gives Veronica a resistance 1 buff for 3 seconds, a speed 4 buff for 2 seconds, and it will charge Veronica's battery by 15%. The second channel is Bumper. Bumper allows Veronica to knock the killer back when crashing into them. Bumping into a killer will charge her battery by 15%, but it will also automatically end SK8. Killers who have been bumped by Veronica cannot be knocked back by another bump for 10 seconds. Mobile, probably the most useless, gives the trick ability increased control when turning after landing. However, Veronica takes 3 times more damage from crashing into things. Activate Battery is Veronica's last ability, and it has a 55-second cooldown. Veronica starts with 50% battery at the start of every round. Completing generator puzzles fills her battery by 8% each puzzle. Activating the ability will give Veronica 0.5 health per 1% of battery, so if the battery is at 100%, then Veronica will get 50 health. If you like this video, you will definitely like this video on screen. Comment below if you're a simp for Veronica, and subscribe for the next Forsaken video coming soon. See you soon.